If you want a drink, well, you come right on in. Just watch your step, cause we're all wanted men.
Where do you get the blue milk? All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Club, where we are going to do an episode of the wow.
The Tanta before?
Yeah, the Tanta before. We're going to do a Tanta before, not 1, 2, or 3, but a 4. Oh, good Lord. Okay, and cut. All right. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Club, and this episode we're going to do basically a new version of the Tatooine Times. We've done a couple of these last year, but it's been a while. But we'll be right back after this and jump right into it.
It's a wretched hive, but life ain't always teddy bears, fireworks, and high fives. Folks round here don't care for sex.
All right, we are back, and we're going to jump into a new episode of the Tatooine Times. Basically, we're going to start out with, I'm going to turn it over here in a second to Gundark. She's going to kind of lead us through this. She's got it all mapped out, and I know it's going to be perfect the way she has it set up. So, Gundark, take it away. What do you want to do first?
Yeah, club secretary, creator of the Tatooine Times, 39 years ago.
Shocking.
Exactly.
Right now we are, this month we're recording the end of May 2020, and first bit of news is that this month is the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back.
What? Ow!
The movie that I think we all three put at the top of our rankings of Star Wars films, didn't we?
Not Greedo, no.
Greedo put
Greedo's
Star
the
Wars,
believer.
the original Star Wars. But
second on mine.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
The one he likes to refer to as A New Hope.
Yeah,
Right.
a New Hope.
A new edit.
May 21st, 1980, 40 years ago this past week, and we recorded an episode of our Trench Run series trying to recount 40 great aspects of The Empire Strikes Back in 5 minutes.
What? Ow!
It was the greatness of that movie. It was impossible.
Shocking.
Beat, so,
Absolutely impossible, yeah. We also proved one other thing, that Corellian Trader can't count.
Wait a second.
Very true.
You were in
He was
charge of
deducting
keeping-
points from us whenever he
Apparently I
wanted.
was subtracting points because I somehow came up with 17 in the 5 minutes when we really had 19. So, somewhere along in the frenzy of the trench run, I got all caught up and I missed it.
I can't see him.
I can't see it.
It was so great. We had to do 2 trench runs.
We're still waiting on part 2
Yeah,
to see
40
in
great
suspense if we finally destroy the Death Star.
So that was 40 years ago this month. And I thought we would start with another blast from the past, going back to our old original issues of the Tatooine Times, which was the Cantina Club newsletter that we used to produce. And I dug out the very first issue of the Tatooine Times.
Oh, wow.
Which doesn't even have a cover.
No, it just jumps right into the first article.
Yeah, we got more advanced later
Wow.
issues where we would develop covers. And this just says Tatooine Times by Club Secretary Gundark. So I guess I wrote the whole thing. I don't know.
I guess so.
It's back.
But it has some interesting tidbits in the first article. You see here the ads for Empire Strikes Back and for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It says in the first article some juicy news for our Jedi Knights that and this was 39 years ago. This was the first issue was published in May of 1981.
Oh, okay.
And so this was 39 years ago. Star Wars was released for a special 2-week engagement in April. So that's what that advertisement was for Star Wars It's Back.
Gotcha.
For 2 weeks only in the movie.
I have the
theater.
poster of that now.
Oh, cool.
Oh, well, that's neat. And it says now Greedo has seen the movie 22 times and Gundark has seen it 20 times. There is no record of how many
I
times.
refuse. That's the way underestimate. You were making mistakes in the first
That's not how the Force
Yeah,
works.
this was 1981, so we would have had. Yeah,
That's more like
I think-
122
Yeah.
times.
I bet you have.
I think we were way off in that. And then
Maybe
it also,
22 days in the theater.
The last mistake you'll ever make.
I mean, we were
That's
going almost every
64
day
right there,
of the
68,
summers
6.
of 77, weren't we? I mean,
Yes.
it's got to
Yes.
be.
Gravely mistaken.
We probably saw it a bunch of times on the re-release, though. You know,
Gravely
I remember
mistaken.
doing that for sure.
yeah,
the
that's
re-release.
probably.
Yeah, I saw it several more times.
Yeah.
I bet you have.
I remember it was the Village Cinema. We'd go in and just sit all day and watch every showing. Watch the preview trailers again. Just watch 3 showings in a row.
Our mom would
Great.
just drop us off to get rid of us. For
Right.
The day. We'd
Like
go
the
to
theater was your babysitter.
We kept coming back though.
Yeah, exactly.
But it also says Empire Strikes Back would be re-released for a 5-week engagement in July. So that was 1981
Okay.
July. So a year
Wow.
after, a little over a year after the
Wow.
first release, it was re-released for 5 weeks.
Rock and roll.
And then it also says Raiders of the Lost Ark, the new movie made through the combined efforts of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, will be released June 12th.
Oh, okay.
June 12th?
June
Really?
12th.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a May release.
Yeah, I thought all their movies came out like
did
May
too.
24th.
That was like their
25th.
thing, was late May.
Yeah, it says June 12th, and then it says the club is pleased to announce the arrival of the May issue of Bantha Tracks, which was the newsletter for the official Star Wars fan club.
You had to
I-
announce that.
Yeah, it was highlighted by an interview with Steven Spielberg in which he discusses his job as director of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So the release date must be
Awesome.
correct.
That's
So-
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
June
strange.
12th,
I didn't
okay.
realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's one other article here, which became a regular article, running column in Tatooine Times called Gundark Ears.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
We had an extensive audio collection back in the days of audio cassette tape. And this one says the Star Wars Public Radio, or NPR Public Radio produced the Star Wars show. It says the Star Wars radio show has been completed. We've recorded all 13 episodes to add to our tape collection.
Nice.
And the making
was a great
of Star
show.
Wars for
It was.
radio also aired on NPR, and we were able to record most of it.
Most of
So,
it. Most of it. Yeah. Yeah, I still have that. I actually bought that on CD a few years ago.
Yeah.
I had to do a remix of the Vader Leia torture scene. From that.
that
That's
was
one of the
awesome.
greatest moments of all time.
You're dying in torment. Where are the Death Star plans? Where is the rebel fortress? There are only seconds left. Your heart is about to burst, and the breath of life is nearly gone. You must!
Okay.
Yeah, and then they went on to do a radio version of Empire and of Jedi, right?
Hmm
Yeah, they
Jedi
did.
was 10 years later, though, or something. It
Mhm.
was 5, 6
Much
I don't know,
later,
much
yeah.
later.
And I think Mark Hamill actually was not in the Jedi
Right.
radio show.
Right.
They had a different actor playing.
He did a good job. I don't
Mhm.
remember who he
Yeah, I
was.
thought
but-
so.
And then I'll end by telling what we were doing in terms of partying 39 years ago this month. There's an article called Party Times, and we would always have an article about our most recent parties in the Cantina Club. It says the club's latest party was held to celebrate 7 things.
Okay.
The original
The Deadly
release-
Sins.
Very specific. The original release of Star Wars, the original release of Empire, the re-release of Star Wars, the conclusion of the Star Wars radio show, and the birthdays of Peter Mayhew, Irving Kershner, and club member Carillion.
There you go.
And one of those
today
is still
club member
alive.
Carillion's birthday today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. Oh, that was nice.
Hey,
that
the
was
second
nice.
verse is, hope you get some tonight. Hope you get cake and ice
Cake and ice cream.
cream. prosciutto or whatever. It's a good Stouffer's ice cream. Blue milk. Hope you get some tonight.
That's awesome.
Let's have a party celebrating the 10 releases of all the different versions of
We got to
Star
come up with
Wars.
7 things to celebrate, though.
Right.
And get this, okay, tell me how this happened. It says the party was highlighted by a speech by Irving Kershner.
What?
Yeah, he came over to the club.
Yeah, he did. He crawled up behind the piano.
We were a big deal back in the day.
Under the stairs.
I don't know where you get your delusions,
He
laser
probably did.
brain.
I think he was turned back at first because he didn't know the password.
Yeah, we turned him away.
Yeah. And we looked over the action figures and we were like, there is no Kirshner action figure. You can't be that important.
You have failed me for the last time.
I'm sure it was on audio cassette or possibly video because we would have our parties. We'd watch the video in the living room and then go to the clubhouse or whatever. And sometimes you'd have a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
We'd go all over the house.
I remember
or
those.
whatever.
Yeah, I
So-
remember doing those.
We must have recorded some interview with him on the re-release of Empire.
Probably, yeah.
That
Yeah.
we watched. And then it says also we celebrated the honoring of Chewie. Did we give Chewbacca a medal or something? I don't
Sounds like
know.
something we would have
Honoring
done. Sounds like something.
Now wait a minute. There was an Oscars, but I think it was much later
I
where
think
Carrie
that was
Fisher
later,
gave.
yeah.
Oh, that was
Chewbacca a medal.
MTV Video Music Awards.
Oh, there you go. So
like in
that
the
could've been-
90s.
Yeah. that could've
Yeah.
been it.
Yeah,
That
so
they
I
gave
don't
it
know
to,
what,
she
what
came out and gave him that.
Maybe we just decided to honor him ourselves, and that's what we
Also,
Probably.
Peter made his birthday.
Yeah, it could.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it said it was his birthday. Yeah.
And then we had a balloon race devised by Gundark. I don't know what the hell that could have been.
Balloon race.
Balloon race. Okay.
Refreshments, presents, and a special playing of the making of Star Wars for radio.
Oh,
And then
okay.
it says upcoming parties will be held to celebrate the re-release of Empire and the birthdays of Dave Prowse, Harrison Ford, and club member Greedo. A party celebrating the release of Raiders of the Lost Ark is also being considered.
Yeah,
It
we're still
depends on
considering
if
that.
the movie was any damn
I don't know if it
good.
was any good or not.
We haven't made it down the list that far in 40 years. Too. We're still that's under consideration. Still.
It's still under consideration.
So that's what the Cantina Club was doing 39 years ago this month.
That is awesome.
We're partying that.
Wow! Yay!
Yeah.
That
And
is cool.
what's
That is cool.
what's kind of ironic is that Empire re-release party that was a party for 7 things, but we had the Kirshner speech, and then for the special edition of Empire we saw the movie with him
Mhm.
and got to hear him speak and stuff. So that's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
is.
remember
Yeah.
that. So that's
Very
kind of cool.
cool.
This year,
Nice.
this Empire anniversary, we got nothing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just-
Oh, that's funny. So, Gundark, could you turn it back to I'm assuming you're done covering that stuff for now?
Yeah.
Go back to the front cover and hold it up again, please.
Yeah.
There's something I think needs to be talked about. Okay, raise it up. Raise it up higher. Okay, The Empire Strikes Back, a better film than Star Wars. Oh, okay, I was just making sure Greedo saw that.
Oh, I do see Star Wars above the. Hold it up again. Right above Empire. There, hold it down. Bring it down a little.
Mhm.
Bring it down. There, Star Wars, right above Empire, where it belongs. One notch above.
One notch above.
But surely, losing its place soon to, it's going to grovel in front of Revenge of the Sith, right?
That's not how the
Yeah,
Force
It's
works.
falling fast, yeah.
Yes. It's plummeting every time we consider the Revenge of the Sith.
And Revenge of the Sith is rising with like a bullet,
Yes, a hovercraft.
That is
It's
correct.
rising like the fleet from the ice.
That's not how the
Skywalker.
Force
Will
works.
it ever find its way out of the atmosphere? We don't know.
Good. New acquisitions. I have news for you on the master sailing card, and I think you'll fill in nicely.
Okay, in
Mine
honor of
no.
another regular column in the Tatooine Times, we had a column called The Trading Post, in which we would recount all of the new merchandise that the Cantina Club members had collected
Oh, cool.
over recent months.
Right.
I thought we could have a version of the Trading Post now because we got some new acquisitions that are evidently interesting that we wanted to show off. The first one, I'll turn to Carillion for this first. I want to ask him about that T-shirt he's wearing because that just looks awesome.
Oh, okay. Let me show it to you a little bit.
Impressive.
Oh, that's cool.
No, it's not. It's awesome.
That was pretty cool. I really like that. Yeah, Brooke got me this for my birthday, and it was one of those one of the Star Wars Day exclusives for this year
from like
on the Disney website.
Yeah,
yeah,
that stuff was hard to get. It sold out really fast.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, so that's the first thing. Do you want me to go through the rest of it, or do you want me to? Okay. Also, there's this T-shirt.
Oh, rock and roll.
I have. Sorry, I'm getting a report from the producers here that this is not a Star Wars Day exclusive, and yet this one is.
Let's get our facts straight.
I got it backwards, and you can see there where it says,
"Those are clones."
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
I got this this little bobblehead Dio, which comes in one of those boxes. It's like a mystery box, so you don't know what you're going to get, kind of thing. And this is the one I got, so I thought that was kind of cool. Really neat.
That is cool.
I got that from my work desk here. All right. I also picked up while I was out today the latest issue of Star Wars Insider.
Oh, nice.
With Carrie Fisher. So.
We switched places.
All right. Okay, this one is really cool. I'm gonna save that one for last. That's my favorite. All right. So I also picked up the Armorer.
Nice. This is the way.
Mandalorian. This is the way. Yeah, I thought that was cool. Okay, and then I picked up they have several varieties of these, but I picked up one of the Knights of Ren.
Ran into Kylo Ren in the bathroom.
Yep.
Which I like. Okay. And then lastly, also this was a birthday gift. This one I love because it's one of my all-time favorite characters, but Hondo Ohnaka.
Yay!
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah.
You read your top 10 Star Wars favorite Star
Yeah,
Wars
he was in my
characters.
top 10 characters, you're right.
Mhm.
I think that's everything.
You sold me out for money. I'm so proud of you.
Exactly. I'm so proud.
This is a great character.
All right.
Okay, I've got you beat.
Oh, okay.
Supersized Baby Yoda.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Look at the size of that thing.
Supersized Baby Yoda. Wow.
Don't look at me like that.
Those eyes are intense.
Oh, the cuteness.
It's actually life size.
It is.
And it is force choking.
Yeah, that's creepy.
No, stop.
He's got Grimace quite right. He's not the evil Baby Yoda.
Let me
quite
see
right.
the child. I will be very quiet.
But yeah, finally the
Impressive.
Baby Yoda merchandise, the official Baby Yoda merchandise started shipping this month.
Mhm.
This was back ordered since Christmas. So my husband and me have been waiting for it since December.
Oh my God.
And I think that the other Baby Yoda stuff, like the Funko Pop Baby Yoda, there's also an animatronic Baby Yoda that I think was supposed to be available this month, but I haven't looked into trying to get that. But yeah, this is really cool. It's very well
Yeah, that is
designed.
awesome.
And it
I love
comes
it.
in a little box that's designed like his bassinet.
Right.
Show us the
And
top of his head.
the sculpting is done really well, I think. So
Nice.
yeah, cool Baby Yoda merchandise. Oh, and I got a new T-shirt. My husband gave to me. Can you see that?
Yeah.
What does it
That's
say?
great.
Do
you have a moment to talk about the dark side?
Give yourself to the dark
I
side.
love it.
That's
Appropriate
great.
for the 40th anniversary of
That's
the Empire
perfect.
Strikes Back.
I just want
I
to
love
ask
it.
you, have you known the power of the dark side?
If you only knew the power
Darth Vader
of the dark
proselytizing.
side.
That's awesome. Yeah, my husband finds the best Star Wars T-shirts.
Yeah, those are cool. That's great.
Yeah. So let's go on to some other current news. Why don't we talk about, I guess first we could talk about the High Republic, the new series of novels and comic books that they announced. I think it was in April, didn't they?
It was before that. It was actually in
February.
Yeah, it was in February, because it was when because I remember reading it or hearing about it when I was coming back from Memphis last time I was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, they had like the entire press conference on one of the podcasts that I listened to. They had the whole audio of the announcement of everything.
Yeah, and that one was let's see, it's a series of interconnected comic books and novels, right? That are set about 200 years before the Skywalker saga. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Is that's basically 200 years before Episode 1.
Now, just this past week, they announced that originally it was scheduled to be released. The first book in the series was scheduled to be released in August to coincide with Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim. And then just this past week, they announced that they were going to have to postpone because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They were going to postpone the release until next January, January of 2021. And so that's when the whole series will start to come out. But you can still go ahead and pre-order the books now on Amazon. Okay. And I thought I would bring up some images here too, because they released some. Cool. If I can share my screen with you.
Yeah.
Some of the concept art.
Nice.
And yeah. And evidently it's about
very diverse.
The Jedi when they're at their height during the Old Republic. And supposedly the storyline, and correct me if I'm wrong if you guys know more about this, surrounds something that they're calling the Great Disaster. As a galactic catastrophe occurs that causes the Jedi to have to step up, and it takes the galaxy in a new direction. And they said that there's no information about what exactly the catastrophe is unless you guys know anything.
No, I haven't heard. I think that's part of the secrecy of it, is that they're not really releasing what that is yet.
Yeah, I think it may be something to do with the new villains that they announced, the Nihil, that they're calling them it's like something like Space Vikings. They evidently are pirates, and Wikipedia says they're anarchists. So I'm wondering if Nihil might be like nihilism or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Probably, yeah.
I would bet they're responsible in some way for the Great Disaster, whatever that may be. So they're supposed to be the new villains. The new heroes are 5 primary Jedi Knights, but then they'll have other characters, Padawans and such as well. And they released information about each of these. The first one, Avar Kriss, is supposed to be the main character of the first novel in the series. And this is real interesting. You tell me how I don't understand how this could be. She's supposed to be a Jedi Master who is stationed on a space station on the galactic frontier. But Wikipedia said that she recorded a message, a holographic message, and stored it in a Jedi holocron that was later discovered by one of Luke Skywalker's students when Luke Skywalker was trying to revive the Jedi Order. Have you guys heard anything about that? Could she be a character from one of the expanded universe series or something?
I don't know. That's interesting because I haven't heard that. I have heard the first part you talked about she's stationed on a out on the outskirts or whatever of known space, but I haven't heard the part about the holocron and all that. No.
They'll do that to connect the two.
Yeah, they'll just do it to connect them together. I doubt I'm sure it's a character that does.
They'll have a comic book series about Luke's students or something, and they'll have it in there.
Exactly.
Or a novel.
I just wonder, they've been doing a lot to work characters from the expanded universe into the new Star Wars universe or Legend. What do they call Star Wars Legends now?
Yeah.
Legends.
I wondered if she might have been one of the Star Wars Legends. But another Jedi Master, Loden Greatstorm, is a Twilight Jedi Master. There's not much information on the internet about him. The yellow lightsaber, though, is interesting. I think
Yeah.
he's supposed to be in the first novel along with Avar Kriss. And this guy, Stellan Gios, who is another Jedi Master who is stationed at a Jedi temple on the planet Karagan Vine. So those 3 Jedi Masters,
Okay.
I think, are supposed to be lead characters in the first novel that's going to come out in January, Light of the Jedi. And I think there's a Wookiee Jedi.
Yeah, as a Wookiee Jedi. Yeah.
There's been no information about him that I know of.
Yeah, they talked a little bit about it on the press conference I heard, but nothing beyond the fact that they were mentioning that there is a Wookiee. The first time we've ever seen a Wookiee Jedi.
Yeah. But this looks like the 3 characters that I just talked about here. And then also in that novel will be a younger Jedi, Keeve Trennis, who just passed the Jedi trials. And then a very young character who I think will be the center of their young adult novels series, Vernestra Vern Rowe, who's only 16 years old, has become a Jedi Knight.
Yeah, I also, from what I understand, there are young adult titles in this mix as well.
Yeah, like that one. I think
Right,
that's supposed
yeah.
to be the first one.
Mhm.
That features her character, A Test of Courage. And that one will come out in February, I think, of next year, as well as a novel by Claudia Gray, which seems cool to me. This one is about young Padawan, what is his name? Reith Silas, and something that happens to him in the middle of the Great Disaster. Claudia Gray wrote the Princess Leia novels, Bloodline novel, that was really good. So I'm hoping that one will be good. So that's all that I know about High Republic, except that they say that it will not cross over into any of the current planned movies or television shows. So this is supposed to be something standalone, right?
That's from what I understand. Yeah, I mean, there was speculation at one point that there were movies planned, and that maybe these were the movies that the D&D guys were doing, the Game of Thrones guys. But that was all canceled, and now they're just turned it into only books and comics. But I don't have any, obviously, facts to back it up. It's just speculation from what I hear.
Well, why don't we move into the movies then?
We really connected today.
Go switch off.